What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. I am your host, as always, Kevin Coleman, and we're back with a little bit of a freshman focus today. So if you watch this on the premiere day, it is a Wednesday. I know we like to do these on Thursdays, but it is Thanksgiving week this week, and I wanted to make sure I stayed married. And so we're going to dive into this today and talk about a player that is not on the radar too much in like I guess like the big circles, but in the community, in the Devy community, and college football community, there is a freshman quarterback out there that's not getting talked about a ton. And on the docket today is going to be MJ Morris from NC State. MJ came in. Devin Leary suffered a season-ending injury, and so MJ came in against Virginia Tech. He looked very good in that game, had 265 yards and 3 touchdowns, and he looked good in a win against Wake, who was a top 25 team. And then had a kind of a downfall against Boston College. But we're going to talk about MJ. Now, who was MJ? Let's get into like kind of what he did. In his career, obviously, when Carrollton High School out there in Georgia, as a senior, he completed 186 of 295 passes for 3,000 yards. He threw for 33 touchdowns and had a QB rate of 122. And he also rushed for 600 yards and 7 scores. So when you looked at what he did, his team finished as 12-2. They advanced to the Georgia 6A state semifinals. He was a Mr. Georgia finalist. He was one of the best athletes at his position. Now, if you're talking about just what he was coming into it, he was ranked as the number 5 dual threat nationally, 36th player in the state of Georgia. He was a 4-star recruit. So when you're looking at just his 247 model, he was 3 or 4-star depending on where you looked at. So he was a 4-star composite, 3-star player rating. But when you're looking at him, he had some offers out there and a lot of different ways, and a lot of different teams offered him there. When he came in, Andrew Evans from 247 Sports comped him to Anthony Brown. So he came in as a pretty top-rated, recruit, not a little under the radar in terms of his quarterback spots, QB 24. But when you're looking at him overall, he has looked very good this year. Now, let's look at this year and look at the numbers. So this year, during NC State's kind of run here, he's 52 for 86. He has a 60% completion percentage, 648 passing yards, 7 touchdowns to 1 interception ratio. And on the flip side, hasn't had a ton of rushing in terms of like his ability there. He's been sacked a little bit, so he hasn't had those numbers that you'd like to see, but the attempts have been there. He has 49 attempts. Obviously, we want to see that number go up, but there is a rushing upside with him. So when you're thinking of MJ overall, he has looked good. Now, in the games that he has played and started, he's 2-1. He got injured, so he hasn't played since the Boston College game. He didn't play last weekend. Don't know if he's playing this weekend in terms of the game. But when you're looking at MJ and where he is at, he is an interesting prospect. They may have found their next guy. Now, if they can beat North Carolina, which may be a possibility, North Carolina's coming off a terrible loss against Georgia Tech, and MJ does play. Now we're talking about as hey, who is this kid moving forward? Could he be NC State's future? We're going to talk about there at the end of the video. Now, strengths. Let's talk about this. And we always dive into things that we like about him. Now, first thing is athleticism. That pops off the tape. Obviously, you're going to see this in terms of his size, 6'2", in that area. He also has that speed when you're looking at that. His 40 at the Open Regional 2019, 4.74, 4.41 in the shuttle. So we're talking about a kid that can move a little bit. So you're looking at a 4.7, 4.8 kid. And I know that's not like a 4.4, 4.5 kid, but he has that ability to kind of extend plays. And you're going to see that. I think he excels very well with RPO concepts. He does those type of things. He can keep the chains moving with his legs. He can do those things and improvise. So you see that pocket breaks down. He has that functional athleticism, gets out the pocket. He throws pretty well in the pocket when you're looking at all things considered. Like, these are the things that you like about him. Now, I think he has a good release too. When you're watching the tape, and we're gonna put on the tape here in a little bit. I think his release is good. He gets it out quick. He can find them. And that's the area. Like, he knows where he's going to go with the ball. And I like his release. And his mechanics are pretty good. Like, when you overall just watching him, I think he does a pretty good job of getting himself square, gets to his target. Consistency is what I'm concerned about. But his mechanics, just based on what he does, and you can tell he has that raw ability. Like, his mechanics are there, raw athleticism. He has his release. Like, there's not a lot of things to hate on in terms of his mechanics and where he's at as a quarterback. Remember, true freshman here when we're talking about what he's been able to do. Now, things that you think, that pop off a little bit about him. First is accuracy. Like, hey, you're going to notice that even at his percentages in high school. And again, high school percentages are just one of those things. Can't take too much credence in that. But this year, 60% completion percentage. He looked very good against Virginia Tech. You saw him kind of settle down. And then as defenses kind of got film on him, we've seen this kind of slow decline. Against Boston College, wasn't a great game, 12 for 24. And then, 50% completion percentage. So you'd like to see the consistency on accuracy as well, but just consistency overall with his game, that's going to come from just improving and just being a better football player and getting more reps. Like that's going to be there. So again, remember, these aren't just weaknesses. These are just things that you like them work on. I want to make sure I clarify that because these are college kids that can get better. We're not hating on any of these kids. So consistency's got to be there. Accuracy needs to be there. Now, the other part is like his arm strength. I think he has a pretty good arm strength. I think he's pretty capable of getting it to the deeper parts of the field. But, he's got to kind of dial in. So can he drive the ball to the numbers? Can he get it on those out routes? And that comes with accuracy and zip and velocity, something I think he's going to improve on because he has improved his weight. So we've seen him kind of get a little bit stronger. I mean, he's at 192, 195. He was at 175, 180 in high school. So we're seeing that development and strength area. So can he get that ball to the numbers? I think that's the key for me, just as a perspective of what he can do. Right now, let's just pop on the tape a little bit and watch him and have a little fun, kind of diagnosing him a little bit and breaking him down. So again, this is where you're going to see that. I like that getting to that out route to the numbers there. He has that release. So you're going to see that his release is a legitimate release when you talk about his mechanics. Like MJ is a lot of fun to watch. And you're going to notice something. Over those games that he started, this NC State offense looked better with him than Devin Leary. I think it was the added rushing ability, kind of that highlight. I think he can bring that in there, extend plays. Like they looked really good with MJ at the quarterback position, especially in this game. Now, again, he gets it across, gets that release out quick, gets it to his receiver. Like these are the things that you like to see from him as a quarterback, and his development of like extending plays, but also in the pocket, climbing the pocket. I think those are the things you're going to look at and say, okay, can he do those things? Stands really well here. This was one of his best throws that he actually had. Probably just in terms of this game. I mean, I watched, we broke down the other games, but in this game, this was his throw. This is the type of thing that stood out about him as a quarterback. Like, oh, hey, you got it in there, delivered it, and you can rewind the video and see it. Again, steps up in the pocket. He has all the time to throw, but he get it on his numbers. Now, a little behind this guy, but he gets up and lets his receiver go get it. And then these are the type of things that as a freshman quarterback, you like to see from him. He knows where the matchups are. He's going to deliver that strike. And he climbs the pocket pretty well. He reads his offensive line, doesn't take bad sacks when you're looking at him. Again, this is a good play, NC State there. But again, he has that ability. Like when you're reading him and he's going through his plays and progressions, I like that too from him. Like I will say this, when I was watching the tape and we're going through it, as a freshman, it's kind of that one read stuff, and he's looking for that. He's definitely going to improve that in offense here. Gets it out to his guys, lets them make plays. They were definitely done a good job. NC State coaching staff did a good job of kind of protecting him in terms of their scheme. But overall, I really, really like that. And I do want to go back to that touchdown that he had just to kind of highlight where he's at. So again, steps up into the pocket, gets his feet set, and that release is effortless, man. And he put it right on the numbers where he needed to go. Outstretched arms of that defender, touchdown. That's the highlight. That's the thing that you like to see from MJ. Like that's I love watching tape of these kids because you can see that development. Climbs the pocket, go there. Now, what's the outlook? So let's talk about what we think about him in terms of just everything. I've been message boarding it up, looking at Reddit, trying to find out what's Devin Leary going to do, and all signs point to him. They don't know. Like, it's very in the question mark if he's going to come out, if he's going to come back. He can come back another year. So if he does that, now we're talking about him, potentially ruining kind of MJ's, like, who is he, right? And there's a lot of articles out there that have talked about, like, MJ's our future. Let's roll with him. Leary could transfer. Maybe he's going to be a transfer candidate if that's the case. But overall, like, I think it's a question mark. Right? Who could this kid be? But I would love to see him get the reins. Like, I would love to see him kind of moving forward. Now, if we're in a Devy, you're not drafting him. If you're in a C2C draft, if you're looking at this from a campus to camp perspective, if you play college fantasy, he's a great. If Leary comes back, he's a great kind of stash guy. You can get later and do this. I think he's going to be a little bit too much in terms of value. He won't be a value if Leary doesn't. I like him in this offense, though. I like him with that rushing upside that he has. But overall, like, this kid is one of those guys to keep an eye on in this quarterback class. Like, he's getting slept on a little bit in terms of the top guys like Aller, Klubnik, these guys. But if he can develop and he can do this, he's going to be a fun college asset with a little bit of upside at the NFL. But we'll see. He's got to develop those passing things. But that's kind of our outlook here for him. I think he can be valuable in college and C2C leagues. If Leary comes back, I think he's going to be even more valuable. But he's a name to watch just because that offense really clicked. And if he can beat North Carolina this week, if you're watching this before that game, we'll see how he performs, and we'll circle back to him in the offseason. So I appreciate you guys tuning in. Smash that like and subscribe button for us. Let us know how we're doing. Sit in the comments. Have you seen this kid play? What do you think? We appreciate that. We're on our drive to 1,000 subs, and we really appreciate everything that you guys have done for us so far. So hit that like and subscribe button. We will check you guys next time. See you later.